Welcome to my channel. He stood there hardly blinking, as if the burden of his own son's passing hadn't cracked a single shard of his pride, not a memory, not a story, not even a moment to pay respect to who Garrison truly was, while Janelle barely held herself together at the Humane Society, remembering her son's kind heart and love of rescue cats. Kody was in Wyoming, mumbling about signs he used to sell, as if mourning was merely another plotline he had to navigate. And Robyn, when she explained it could be a sad day that wasn't merely cold, it was freezing. You could sense the room freeze in place. The quiet wasn't tranquil, it was deafening. It screamed of emotional distance. And I must wonder, how did we arrive here? How did a man once enveloped in laughter, children, and a so-called dream of plural love come this broken, this dismissive, this unapologetically selfish? How did a family of close to 24 break so far that kids now mourn not only their brother, but a father who is alive and opting for absence? This is not simply family drama anymore. It's a breakdown of integrity right before our eyes. Hello everyone, I'm Mara, and welcome to TLC's next chapter. If you've been watching this family crumble in real time, and you've got an opinion, I need to hear them in the comments, be sure to subscribe and hit like, because we're going all out on what actually happened to Kody Brown, how his ego, favoritism, and emotional immaturity progressively poisoned every nook and cranny of his family. This isn't a love story, this is the wreckage, and it's time we stop lying about it in the early seasons. Kody was this whirlwind of energy. He'd bounce into the frame with that unruly mop of curls, cracking jokes, loading kids into the van, discussing love unity and how plural marriage was all about creating something greater than yourself. He referred to it as a principle. He sold us the dream: one large family, one father, 4 wives, and a house full of children who would all grow up enveloped in community and faith. And for a time, it seemed like maybe that might work. He spoke of fairness as if it was his duty. He refused to rotate time equally to make every wife feel noticed. He'd take the kids down for serious talks, organize activities to get everyone on the same page. Even when things were messy, there was the effort. You could sense the intention, even if the execution wasn't perfect. But now that iteration of Kody is like a stranger. Let's fast forward to the most recent seasons, and it's like we're watching someone who's just lost the spark is gone, replaced by this empty, defensive, detached shell of a man. He moves into scenes like he's somehow above it all, talks like everyone else is the problem, and has this ability to use silence as a weapon that hurts more than any outburst ever could. His claim to the title of dad feels more like a title than a reality. It's like he puts it on for the cameras, but not the kids. And those kids, they've noticed, we've seen it. Gabe, Garrison, even Savannah, they don't just look hurt. They look done trying, done hoping, done pretending. Like this man is still showing up for them. The most heartbreaking part is the way he talks about them now. He's called his sons narcissists, accused them of being disrespectful, of undermining him, of being disloyal. He once reduced them to nothing more than gossip and liars. And then there was that moment, yes, that instant, when he actually called their anatomy pencils that wasn't not just tone deaf, that was cruel. You hear him say things like, they're just jealous, or they've poisoned each other against me. And you realize this man isn't attempting to rebuild anything, he's simply attempting to safeguard his ego. And somewhere along the line, being father became being offended. This isn't parenting anymore, it's posturing. The fallout between Kody and his children has become one of the gut-wrenching and unquestionable fractures in sister wives. We're not discussing childhood squabbles or adolescent rebellion. We're discussing actual emotional harm, deep wounds that haven't merely broken the relationship between father and child, but incinerated it to ashes. Let's begin with Garrison. This wasn't a background figure. He was loved. He was a jokester. He had aspirations, and he worked diligently to establish his own life, a home, a stable job, even serving in the National Guard. But he too wrestled with something much more invisible. Rejection. Garrison attempted more than once to connect with his father emotionally. He craved connection, guidance, some indication that he was important. But what did he receive in return? Distance, silence, accusations in the years leading up to his fatal death? Kody hardly recognized his existence unless it was to chastise him, portraying him as insubordinate, disloyal, and resentful. He referred to him jealous of what precisely of a father who refused to appear. And then there's Gabriel Gabe, the sweet, sensitive child who had his heart on his sleeve. We all remember the tragic moment when Gabe retold calling his dad on his birthday during only to be brushed away by Kody. No happy birthday, no affection. Just cold words and an instant hang-up that wasn't just a missed call, that was a milestone in their relationship. Gabe cried during that interview, he could hardly talk, and still Kody wasn't stirred rather than reflection. We received defensiveness. Savannah Janelle's youngest child has said little, but her silence is deafening. She hasn't talked to her dad in more than a year, and he was aware it was going on. He confessed to it on camera and shrugged. This isn't a disconnected uncle, this is her father. And yet he allowed time to keep passing, as if someone else's responsibility bridged the gap, as though he wasn't the grown-up, as though heartbreak was something a kid ought to have to navigate alone. And Maddie, she said her piece loud and clear on social media. She's the one who recognizes the larger picture, the pattern she's spoken out against, favoritism, the unfair treatment her brothers had, and the hypocrisy that's been allowed to grow when the family broke up. Maddie didn't beat around the bush. She knew precisely who was choosing to show up and who wasn't. All of this came to a head in the memorial episode for Garrison, while Janelle, Christine, and the rest of the family sat in real grief. Eyes swollen, voices cracking, telling stories about who Garrison was. Kody and Robyn were off in Wyoming at an amusement town on vacation, riding stagecoaches, talking about signs they used to sell. There wasn't a moment of remembrance. No mention of Garrison, no break for the heaviness of what the family was going through. Robyn said, "It could be a sad day, that's all. No, I'm sad, no shared memories, no connection, just distance, detachment." And it wasn't because they didn't have the opportunity. They had camera crews, time, space. They just didn't use it. And Kody, when he did finally sit down to talk about Garrison, he couldn't help but make it all about himself. "I held him first," he said with tears in his eyes. And yes, grief appears differently for each of us, but when every sentence begins with I and none of them begin with "he was," or "I miss," or "I should have it," ceases to be about loss. It begins to be about ego, while the rest of the family grieved. A son, a brother, a friend. Kody grieved his image, the concept of himself as a father, not the reality. And that's the worst part. If Kody's downfall has been public and painful, Robyn's involvement in it all has been equally haunting, only far quieter, more deliberate, and honestly, more harmful than most people care to acknowledge. Robyn has spent decades constructing a very particular narrative about herself. The quiet one, the wronged wife, the woman who only ever wanted peace. But when you remove the carefully placed blinders, tears, and the trembly voice she's honed on command, what remains is someone who has repeatedly disassociated herself from the rest of the family, particularly the children who weren't her own. Her emotional manipulation isn't public or destructive. It's subtle. It's in how she words every situation to cast herself as the victim, even when the facts dictate otherwise. For years, Robyn has cried about her children being treated differently by the other wives, about how hard as it is to be accepted. But now, considering how detached and emotionally absent she is when it comes to Kody's other children, particularly after Garrison's death, it's evident that the exclusion didn't just happen to her. She created it too in the most painful moments, such as in the episodes around Garrison's death. Robyn didn't appear grief-stricken, she appeared inconvenienced. Her remarks were cold, almost robotic. She called the day of his burial a depressing day. "Not my heart is broken, or I can't believe we lost him." She said Kody is sad, but where was her sadness? Where was any indication that she viewed Garrison as part of her family? And then there's the children. Solomon and Ariella are young. We can see them being more sheltered. But Aurora and Brianna, they grew up with Garrison. They celebrated holidays with him, shared birthdays, family vacations, and yet in the scenes intended to pay tribute to his life, their presence was hardly noticed. No tears, no words, only silence. In the meantime, the other siblings, Savannah, Maddie, Gabe, they were raw and exposed, displaying the sort of pain that comes only when someone really counted with you. What's even more difficult to overlook is the way Kody appears completely immersed in Robyn's reality. She doesn't have to scream to dominate him. She whispers, pulls away, plays the part of the long-suffering wife. And Kody. And the more Robyn wept over being unsafe, the more Kody drove away his other children one by one, alone rejected until all that remained was Robyn, her 4 children, and a man who was once a father to so many now, holding on to the one relationship in which he's always correct. And this is not sad, it's enraging. Because at a time when the family needed cohesion, Robyn remained in her bubble. She didn't open her heart. She didn't appear in any significant fashion. And that silence spoke volumes more than any tear she's ever shed on screen. And here's where things get even more twisted, because it's not only Kody and Robyn building this destruction TLC, the very network that constructed this family's public stage is fully complicit. They've watched the fall unfurl in real time. They've seen the public outcry, the comment sections overflowing with frustration. And still, they keep shining the light on Kody and Robyn as if they're the center of a redemption arc that never materializes. Consider in the most tragic episodes, such as the ones following Garrison's death, who was getting the most screen time. Was it Janelle at the Humane Society sobbing as she remembered her son's soft heart? Was it Savannah's quiet strength still standing by her mom in spite of everything? We hardly had those moments before the camera cut back to Kody in Wyoming, going on about childhood memories and signs, literal signs that nobody viewing cared about. And that wasn't an error, that was a decision. The editors cut a gorgeous, raw scene at the Humane Society in half, just in order to reveal more of Kody's self-absorbed narrative, while Robyn and her children were depicted meandering around like they were on vacation, laughing, sightseeing, having fun, while the rest of the family was mourning. How deaf can you tone deaf how TLC published that they only left that intact at the moment? Viewers have had enough. You see it everywhere. Persons fast-forwarding during every Kody and Robyn interaction, skipping whole episodes, even making a promise to stop watching. Overall, fans aren't dummies. They're capable of seeing behind the editing tricks. They also know when stuff's being scripted to shield the wrong ones. And quite honestly, watching the network prioritizing screen space for the most emotionally unavailable, disconnected people in this family, it's insulting. People didn't sign up to watch a one-sided story where accountability gets buried under pity party monologues. They wanted real family, real healing, and TLC keeps giving us 2 people playing house in a narrative that's already burned down. In the midst of all this dysfunction, there are 2 women who truly stand out. Janelle and Christine have consistently proven themselves to be the emotional backbone of this family, while Kody and Robyn are acting the victim and wallowing in their drama. Janelle and Christine are quietly doing the heavy lifting of keeping their kids centered, being there for each other, and riding out their own emotional storms without completely losing it. And if there's anything that says volumes about their resilience, it's their kids. Let's begin with Janelle. I don't think she receives enough credit for being the calm, steady presence in this family. Consider the scene at the Humane Society following Garrison's death. That moment struck close. Janelle, fighting back tears as she discussed the emotional toll of losing her son, was one of the only genuine raw moments we got to witness in this entire debacle while Kody was away. Doing God only knows what in Wyoming, Janelle was mourning in real time. You could sense the depth of her loss in her eyes, but you could see her strength. This wasn't a woman who needed a spotlight to deal with her sorrow. Janelle simply persisted as always, attempting to remain strong for her other children, for her family. She requested no sympathy. She merely dealt with grace. Then there's Christine, who has been nothing less than a revelation. Seeing her mature not only as an individual, but as a mother has been nothing less than inspiring. She progressed from being that reserved, somewhat passive member of the family to a vocal defender of herself and her children. And let's get real, Christine's breakdown when she finally left. Kody was one of the most intense moments in Sister Wives history. That wasn't simply a divorce announcement, it was Christine taking back her life, her independence, and an end to the emotional abuse she'd suffered for way too long. You could see it in her face. That was the face of a woman who'd been battered emotionally for years, but finally gained the strength to move on without him. And it wasn't only for her, it was for her children as well. Christine's children, like Peyton and McKeely, depict the same strength. They're emotionally intelligent, they're self-aware, and they know their worth, considering Maddie's interview, for instance. She talked so openly about how she and her siblings are doing, how they're not waiting around for Kody's emotional availability. They've learned to move on with or without him. They know that their mother did the best she could, and they respect her for it. That's the level of emotional maturity Kody never afforded them, while Kody cowers behind his feelings and shirks duty. Christine and Janelle have borne this family on their backs. They've shown their children the stability and love that Kody could not. In the turmoil of this family dynamic, these women have been the ones to instruct their children how to process grief, how to deal with challenging circumstances, and above all else, how to stand up for themselves when they need to. Kody may be the head of the household, but Janelle and Christine are the ones that are really bringing up the next generation. This didn't need to be their story, none of it. If Kody Brown had the emotional maturity to put his family ahead of his ego, if he had taken the time to really reach his kids and wives, perhaps things might have been different. Perhaps the children wouldn't have had to endure his dismissiveness, his emotional neglect, and his self-absorbed behavior. Perhaps his wives wouldn't have felt abandoned, used, and ultimately driven to their limits, but rather, Kody's immaturity shattered more than just marriages. It shattered relationships, trust, and the very foundation of what family is supposed to be as the fallout continues to unravel. It's difficult not to wonder how much longer TLC is going to prop up Kody and Robyn. This isn't the first time they've been put in the center, while all the rest of us have been left to suffer the repercussions of their actions. And let's be honest, if this is the next chapter TLC wishes to pen, they need to start paying attention to the real heart of the story. It's the women, such as Christine, Janelle, and the children who have been supporting this show, supporting the emotional burden that Kody never was. If TLC really wants to continue telling their story, they have to take the focus away from Kody's drama and the people that are actually fighting for their emotional health. Now, I want to hear what you have to say. Do you think Kody can ever change? Will the family ever heal? Or is this the ultimate demise of what was once a unique and pioneering family dynamic? Leave your comments below. And let's get this conversation started, because at the end of the day, it's time for a new chapter 1 that doesn't just involve the drama and dysfunction, but centers around healing growth and the people who have been quietly, yet powerfully pushing this story forward. Let me know your thoughts, hit that subscribe button for more. And don't forget to like and share. We're just getting started. Thanks for watching, friends. I'm Mia, and this is TLC's Snow.